You've worked with the fighter to basically brainwash him into, I guess, a new identity where, similar to Mike Tyson, he steps into the ring and he doesn't know fear and he's just unstoppable.
Yeah.
I remember you saying that at the weigh-in, when his wife saw him, she just instinctively grabbed her child
Yeah.
out of fear.
Yeah.
Or like, how did you do that?
The CIA was responsible for developing a lot of this stuff. I have a set of documents that no one else has that survived this destruction order that talked about this process. And it's well known that somebody can be made to have another personality or dissociative identity, not the disorder part. It's like a partition in the hard drive, except there's not two people there. There's only one brain, but you're making a hard partition in that person's brain to where they get to pick and choose what their alter ego has.
I've only scratched the surface with that stuff. I read The Alter Ego Effect.
Yeah.
And, it talks about multiple examples of Beyonce. Before she became Beyonce, she had an alter ego that she created called Sasha Fierce, that when she stepped into it, it allowed her to go on stage and be sexy and be out there, when she initially was just a gospel singer and she was a church girl. I guess maybe Mike Tyson has had something similar.
Yeah, Mike Tyson's had hypnosis to where they kind of go through an imaginary scenario. This is a very wildly different type of alter ego where we're making the alter ego. It takes 4 days and it's a stressful process.
What's the process you went through with the fighter? And I guess how can someone at home like take this away? Because I'm like, okay, give me that. Give me some of that.
Yeah. If you're doing it at home, it's going to be an imaginary exercise that may be effective for a lot of people. So the alter ego effect talks about how even just the imaginary presence of an alter ego can kind of give you permission to act in ways that you normally wouldn't. And the people that I typically work with, these are race car drivers, fighters, CEOs that need an extra edge or an advantage. One of the guys who was waiting to become CEO of this Fortune 500 company and needed this edge of authority so the board would elect him and all this kind of stuff. I think that's how I don't know how boards work, but from what I understand, that's how it works. So these people don't need some imaginary thing. They need some deep level fundamental shift. So throughout this 4-day process, we develop the most intense. The first 3 days is like extreme brainwashing, but also extreme mind-body connection, control over yourself, and access. So the entire process when I create an alter ego in someone is about two things, and that's access and control. So I'm giving you a master key to all of your subconscious, which most people, 99.9% of the planet, does not have that. And then control. I'm using a lot of hypnosis and 1,000 other things. There's some pharmaceutical interventions that we do sometimes. We use all of these things and come together, and the day 4 I can't talk about because I think it could be weaponized by bad people pretty easily. But the day 4 is kind of this culmination where we partition that hard drive and that person can, at a moment's notice, turn this thing on. And it lasts an average of 51 minutes before they have to turn it back on again. And it is fascinating. You watch some people for the first time turn one of these alter egos on. You can see pupils change. I have one video where eye color changes slightly, but you can see it. And I'll give it to you. You could like overlay it on here or something.
Yeah, that's one of those things that I think I heard about from people with split personalities, that their eye color changes when their personality changes, or they have diabetes with one personality and then they switch into another and they don't have it. And you can look at the data and their biomarkers and it's gone.
Yeah, and allergies and all kinds of other crazy stuff.
If someone wanted to get rid of their allergies, could you do that for me?
I've never done it. There's a lot of research that says hypnosis can work for allergies. And
I was just imagining you could have the craziest alter ego like Superman, the most confident man in the world. I just want a copy of me without allergies. Just like thinking small. I'm like, yay, here's my alter ego.
That'll be a new YouTube video. Let's try it. I'll work on you and we'll document the entire process.
Oh, so I envy people who fall asleep like that. I envy them. I have deep resentment for them, especially when they're next to me and they do midnight karate, or they play like midnight Monopoly where they try to take over the bed. Not pointing fingers at anyone specific here who's watching, but if you could help me fall asleep within a second, like that would change my life.
Oh,
I guess
that's pretty easy.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right.
So let's break down how that works in 45 seconds. Hypnosis is many different things happening at one time, and hypnosis is a process, not something that happens in your brain. Hypnosis is something that I do, not you, right? So I'm using hypnosis to make all of these things happen in your brain. One of the first things that happens is the brain starts feeling safe. So the brain feels safe, the body feels safe, and that person's brain starts flooding with this chemical called GABA. It's a neurotransmitter. It stands for gamma-aminobutyric acid. And it's our brain's safety chemical. So during a process of hypnosis, what we would essentially do is anchor that state in your mind to where your brain and body remembers that one state, and we'll do it over and over and over and hypnotize you like 50 times in a row and have you do something like squeeze your wrist and say Jupiter or something like that.
Wow, I can even have a custom message.
Anything you like, yeah.
Ooh.
So
What would that be?
we would, so we kind of get you to associate those two things together and really tie those things together through some tons and tons of hypnotic suggestion. Future pacing is what they call this, and several other things. But
Visualization.
That's how it would work. Yeah.
I guess it's just reps and then training the body to access it. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. What happened to that fighter that
He's still
that
around.
you trained? His enemies, are they still around?
I don't know.
He destroyed all his enemies.
I know he was down in Mexico doing some training.
I saw you had a plaque in the studio, like a
from him.
a thank you
Yeah.
plaque.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how did that show up in the fight?
The announcers are even saying like they've never seen anything like this. This is unbelievable. He's sitting in the corner when like I punch a punching bag for 20 seconds and I'm out of breath. And I'm in decent shape. And he's sitting in his corner in between these rounds and his chest isn't heaving. He's sitting there like a Terminator with this like deadpan, all the muscles on his face are relaxed. And I'm watching this like, oh my God, I had no idea that this would work whatsoever. So I was just thankful that everything worked. And it looked like because fighters, when they get hit or when they're about to get hit, you'll see wincing and facial expressions. None. There were none of them. So throughout the whole fight, it was kind of like he accessed this new Terminator mental state, and that's what he was using in the fight. It was beautiful to watch.
How could someone do that at home? Like if I wanted to go home and be like, okay, there's just some things that get in the way of me going after what I want to go after.
I don't think this is possible at home. Because I think people think that I'm going to think my way into this. And people are also assuming that this is a psychological shift that I'm doing in people. There are physiological changes that I'm making in these people.
So you need a partner. You need someone who does it with you and guides you through it.
Yeah. And somebody that you obviously trust. With this process, there's a lot of physiological changes that take place. And it's very stressful. So the last day of this process is a very stressful experience.
Wow.
It's fun.
I want to hear more. Come on, you got to give us something.
So when I do this programming with somebody, it starts 60 days before the day that it starts. So I'm sending them out an MP3 and some hypnosis audio files that they need to listen to every day for 60 days. Then we send them neurotransmitter tests, and they have to get their blood work done. And we're balancing out their neurotransmitters. We're working with a neurologist that talks to the client, gets them on the right track for balancing out they're deficient in vitamin D or, everything that could possibly be interfering with them psychologically and physiologically. We balance out as much as we possibly can over those 60 days. And the person is nightly getting programmed to my voice or the practitioner's voice who's doing this. Because I've certified a bunch of people to do this. And the day that you show up as a practitioner, the day that I would show up to go like program somebody, they are in the best mental state of their life. All of their stuff is kind of balanced out, and they are hyper entrained. So their brain is hardwired to respond reflexively to my voice, so that we don't have to spend a day and a half overcoming resistance and doing all kinds of little rote processes that could have been done over the phone, which is why we kind of do that that audio. It's so important to get their brain ready for the process because it's a stressful experience. There's all kinds of tremoring stuff that happens where the body can go into we deliberately manufacture these things called neurogenic tremors for hours at a time, which is something that's taking place in the spinal cord. And in between that, we're doing hypnosis. There's a 3-second break where they need to lay on the floor, and then we're going back into neurogenic tremors. And if you've never heard of neurogenic tremors, it's built into every single mammal on the planet, and we're the only mammals that suppress it. And it's a way that our body handles stress and trauma, and that's why you don't see depressed zebras and squirrels and foxes.
Is that like the shaking?
Yeah.
That they do? I think it's like a lying down position, and you have your legs like up. Is that the what is it called?
It's neurogenic tremors, but
okay.
Someone else relabeled it and called it TRE, trauma releasing exercise.
TRE, that's it.
That was Dr. David Berselli. But he was a trauma surgeon, as I recall, and he noticed that this was a very common thing he's seeing in people going through trauma, and then he noticed it in the animal kingdom and it made this possible for military. And I went through it and never suffered a lack of sleep again. I only did it one time. And it was fantastic.